Have you ever had a match catch you off guard? I have. Some context. A few years ago, I became slightly obsessed with the Greatest Match Ever forum. It's a fan-driven project that holds votes every couple of years to determine what is, well, the greatest match of all time. At least at that current moment. I don't always agree with the rankings. I have weird tastes, and I think it's fair to say a lot of the voter base have an affinity for the 90s that I don't fully share, but even if my tastes don't line up with the results, I think it's great that something like this exists, and if you wanted to check out the cream of the crop when it comes to wrestling history, this along with Cage Match are great starting points. When I started properly getting into old wrestling a few years ago, this was the starting point I used, and as I sorted through the usual suspects to find something to watch, I noticed that JBL vs Eddie Guerrero from Judgment Day 2004 had made the list, which was curious to me, because JBL was involved. A worker I don't hear about much in the discussion of classic matches. Not to say I haven't seen him put on bangers in his time or that he doesn't have good qualities as a wrestler, but when I see discussion of JBL, I tend to see more about his frankly toxic backstage shenanigans. When John Layfield is the topic of conversation, it's more like a what culture list than praise of a worker. Stories of him shooting on the Blue Meanie at One Night Stand 2005, bullying WWE talent into leaving the company, being knocked out by Joey Styles, or soaping other wrestlers in the shower. God, this guy was a cunt. He's one of those figures where his reputation precedes him so much that deep diving his work, or even in this case scraping the surface, isn't high on your list. Not to be reductive, but Stan Hansen is right there if you want a lariat throwing cowboy. Needless to say, I was curious on how this match ended up on a list like this. Surrounded by such set-in-stone classics like Kabashi Misawa and Danielson McGuinness and Atlantis Villano de Cero, could this match really hold up? Yes, I'm going to spoil it now. The answer is yes. Fucking hell, have you seen the length of this fucking video? This match has broken something in my brain. How good this match is has led me to writing and recording this video at least 3 times over the last 4 years. This match broke my brain, and I'm hoping talking about it will help me stitch it back together. Just a brief programming note before we jump into the main section of this video. There's going to be very little footage in this video. The WWE bots scare me. I don't want to deal with them. My last video on Onita versus Funk took longer to clear than any video of mine ever has, because apparently that match was featured on a random episode of ECW Hardcore TV that you can't even watch legally right now, but apparently that was enough to claim my video automatically. We have screenshots. I've put a lot of effort into the writing of this video. It's probably the most effort I've ever put into a script. And I have 2 feature-length videos in my archive. So I'm not risking this video becoming unseeable because of some footage. Screenshots will make my point just as well. I'm not a fan of it either. It is what it is. I just wanted to warn you that there's not much visual stimulation in this one. JBL has been taking wrestling more seriously as of late. The days of the beer drinking, blackjack playing acolytes are over. The video package for this match has him musing over the fact that wrestling is the only thing he's failed at, citing his success on the stock market, on television and in radio. This will naturally lead him to declaring his intentions to win the WWE Championship and then also go on to bully a bunch of smaller wrestlers, because why would someone like him go after someone his own size? This path would inevitably lead him to current champion Eddie Guerrero. After Bradshaw was named #1 contender for Eddie's championship, it opened him up to the normal shenanigans of the champion. For example, Kurt Angle held this ceremony to name JBL the greatest American, and Eddie came out and stole his trophy. This angers the now self-serious Bradshaw. We cut forwards and we're at a house show. Eddie is celebrating in the ring with his family, and JBL comes out and attacks him, which leads to Eddie's mother having a heart attack in the ring as she was part of the celebration. This is subdued for a family storyline in the WWE. The crux of it is heel has attacked a babyface, something that happens every fucking show, but he chose to do it while his elderly mother is in the ring, leading to her having a cardiac event. And there's a logical A to B with that. Nobody is invading anybody's homes. Nobody is kidnapping anyone. He didn't assault this woman. He attacked the champion as the challenger babyface. Happens over time. It just so happened to cause significant trauma to both Eddie and his family. Don't get me wrong, there's still an element of WWE silliness to this, but it does a great job setting the dynamic going into the match, because often a shitty thing that's happening to you is only personal to you. There's this genre of video that I hate, and it's to the effect of one conservative debates 100 woke people. This was made famous by the online right, and I'm not going to bother naming any of the people who do this because it's really not worth the aggravation if one of their shithead followers comes across this video. But there's an obvious nefarious nature to these videos, in the sense of half the time it's these 30-year-old plus gentlemen with at least a decade of media experience debating teenagers whose brains are still developing, who often have not prepared for this debate. They've just turned up on campus with a sign saying "prove me wrong," and that of course is shitty. But I think an under-discussed issue with this genre is the difference of investment between the person who set up the sign and the teenagers they're arguing with. As a thought experiment, say we have a conservative who has turned up to a college campus and has decided today's debate is about queer rights, naturally attracting a lot of queer and allied teenagers. For those teenagers, the ideas put forward by the bigot are extremely harmful and can, and in recent years most certainly have, led to a decreased quality of life for a group of people who already struggled to be accepted. These ideas can lead to changes in law, to family members disagreeing with the fundamental existence of someone they are meant to love. These ideas could have killed one of their friends. These ideas might even contribute to their own death in the future. But for the conservative, there's nothing to lose in the stupid game they have started. They don't really care how these ideas affect these people. He probably doesn't think these people should even exist. They can just sit there, appearing cool and collected, as a young person gets emotional about ideas that genuinely harm them, whilst their opponent just sits there, probably musing about how their political opponents are clearly over-emotional while a distressed teenager tries to argue for their own existence. He can cut these people deep and not lose a minute of sleep over it. Honestly, given the money this kind of content can make, he probably sleeps better than most. As I rewatched this match to make this video, these debates came to mind. It's probably due to the racist dog whistles that are abundant in JBL's character and promos around this time, which honestly aren't a million miles off from the far-right rhetoric of today, even if over-the-top wrestling heel JBL is a lot more subtle about these thoughts than the conservatives who indulge in these kinds of debate. Eddie is hot-headed coming into this match because it's personal to him. His eagerness to hurt this man who has hurt him so badly will result in mistakes as this match goes on that will cost him dearly. Eddie will stay in the fight. He has to. He's been cut deep. It's not personal for JBL. He's done stuff every heel wrestler would do. This is business for him. And this dynamic will inform the match. Right from the entrances, JBL walks out wearing that stupid cowboy hat and puffer jacket like nothing in the build to this match happened. You wouldn't think this is personal to look at him. Eddie will then enter the arena to a huge pop, which carries him to the ring. It's classic Eddie with his lowrider and the bravado of a champion. But the second he locks eyes with Bradshaw and gets asked, "How's your mother?" his demeanor changes. He's staring daggers through the challenger, waiting for a chance at his revenge. Which, comes almost instantaneously as Eddie rushes JBL the second the bell rings. The appeal at the beginning of this match reminds me a lot of something like Tajiri vs Steve Corino back in 2000. Just a man who has wronged someone so deeply getting punished for his sins. A truly guttural experience where you're just there going, yeah, get that motherfucker. Fuck him. Eddie is intense going after JBL. He's not letting up on him. And to JBL's credit, he's great in this section of the match. He's stooging and bumping as Eddie takes weeks of anger out on his bully. He's getting choked with production cables. He's getting thrown over the announce table and around the ring. He understands his role. He's the villain. He's the guy everyone has paid to see get beat up. A lot of the criticism I will see for this match is people mentioning how they don't like the beginning, considering what's coming later. Something to the sentiment of, the beginning's fine, but nowhere near as good as the end of the match. And I kind of get it, but the beginning of this match is perfect for the storyline. It's one of the wonderful highs of wrestling, seeing someone who deserves it get his comeuppance. And because he deserves it, when JBL turns the match around by countering one of Eddie's Irish rips, you're into it. All you want is Eddie to get back into the fight. Because fuck JBL. I don't want to see him do well. And of course, when Eddie's on the back foot, he is sympathetic. There are rest holds in this section and they don't feel boring because Eddie is constantly trying to get back up to a vertical base. Much more used as part of the ebb and flow of a wrestling match, not just a way to slow down the action to catch a breather. And it fucking works. When Eddie fights back, you're bouncing for him, and when he's behind, all you want him to do is get back on top. The way that both men play their role is classic pro wrestling. Classic heel versus babyface. It definitely helps that there's some cold moments in the first part of his match. JBL catching one of Eddie's topes into a four-way slam on the outside, and also there's a backdrop onto the announce table that looked fucking nasty. All of it works within the match itself, and as we go down the stretch, Eddie is threatening to make a comeback, but then the ref is knocked down, which isn't a big deal. Eddie does keep his momentum up. He throws JBL out of the ring and over the announce table, and everything's looking great for him, and then this happens. Yeah, dude, JBL just destroyed a chair over Eddie's head. This results in possibly the nastiest blade job you'll ever see in your life. Eddie got himself deep here. Really deep. It's gushing out of him. You can literally see the blood flow from the wound like it's meant to be flowing to your brain. The floor is covered in multiple puddles of his blood. This cocktail of Eddie's blood being over any surface he remotely comes in contact with, and the acoustic crash of the chair shot, turns what, to be clear, was a very, very good match into something so visceral. In the past, I have described matches as sending me into a violent zen state, but this goes beyond that. It's much, much more. I worry for Eddie in these moments. The illusion of pro wrestling is at its highest because I am screaming every time JBL continues to hit Eddie. The clothesline from hell that JBL hits made me look away from the screen. I am wincing when I see the fountain of blood that is being created in the forehead of Eddie Guerrero. As a seasoned wrestling fan, it can be hard to get this reaction out of me. At this stage of my fandom, I can watch a Freedom's main event and feel very little. Blood doesn't always have this effect on me. Eddie continuing to survive had me close to tears with how overwhelmed it made me feel. After the chair shot, JBL is continuing to hit him hard with lariats and powerbombs, and every single move feels like it should be match ending. I bite every time, despite knowing what happens, despite knowing the result, despite the fact that this match happened 22 years ago. I am at a fever pitch, wanting Eddie to hold on. So imagine what I'm like when he starts fighting back. When he countered a four-way slam into a DDT, I fucking lost it upon my first viewing. And when it all came crashing down, when he ate shit on a frog splash, my stomach churned. When Eddie gets himself DQ'd, using the belt as a weapon after JBL had attempted the same, It felt like a powerful moment. I honestly forgot that this was a title match until that happened. It was a sudden end to this match, but I honestly think it enhances the match and cements it as something perfect, at least in my eyes. Eddie didn't really care about being a champion here. He cared about hurting JBL and making sure he doesn't get what he wants because he doesn't deserve it. Eddie is still champion at the end of this match, but that doesn't really matter. Nothing does. At least he gave JBL a good fuck you on the way out. This Broke Me has become an unofficial series on this channel, with this being the third entry. The previous entries being videos on Keiji Muto versus Goji Ezaki from Noah's return to the Budokan, and the first meeting between Utami Hayashishita and Shuri for Stardom's red belt. The mixed emotions these matches stirred up within me are what inspired the videos. Muto versus Go is bad on every level I can think of. As a match, it was clunky. Muto could hardly move because he's older than the stars in the sky. So they took a lot of shortcuts to get through a runtime that was far too long, considering the competitors involved. And it brought a title reign which had brought me into watching Noah to an end, with the belt being given to a selfish and undeserving wrestler. But I was heavily invested in the match because I just did not want Muto to win, and I didn't want Go to lose, and all the stars are pointing towards that, but they gave me hope. The fuckers. And at the time, as someone only developing their style and their voice when it comes to criticizing wrestling, it made me question very deeply what I value in this art form. But Shuri vs Utami, on the other hand, was a super solid, if overhyped match that happened at the expense of the internal logic of Stardom. It made me despise the match despite its obvious strengths. It made me question my fandom in a company I was at the time making a podcast about, and it made me question to what extent I should let these factors hurt a match for me. In the long run after the video, turns out quite a lot. I can't watch Stardom in good faith to this day because of how I felt about it in 2021. I don't have any mixed emotions when it comes to JBL versus Eddie Guerrero. I rarely have this unironic a good time watching wrestling. The first time I watched this, I was in a call with my friend Rob, and I was losing my shit. I wasn't thinking about any of the strengths that I laid out in this video. Those strengths are amazing. This match holds up very well on rewatches, but on first viewing is not important. For a precious few moments, I had no thoughts outside of this match. I had no logical capacity. I was just in the moment, which honestly is the feeling I want from pro wrestling. The euphoria I felt when CM Punk came back, the celebration when Tetsuya Naito finally won the belt from Kazuchika Okada, the sheer bewilderment inspired by Goji Ezaki versus Kazuyuki Fujita. In matches and moments like that, I'm not thinking about how the bills are going to be paid. I'm not worrying about the state of the world. I'm just in a moment, feeling emotions. And this match can do that, decades removed from its original context. And that's wonderful. I love wrestling, and at a time where I sometimes feel detached from the wrestling people are praising, this match just reminded me that I do love pro wrestling. And the feelings I need from pro wrestling, and the feelings that you need from pro wrestling are out there. You just need to keep your mind open. Because, again, I was inclined to skip over this match because JBL was in it. And that was silly. When you allow yourself to follow your curiosity, wrestling can make you feel like this. Isn't that amazing? Is this not the feeling that we chase as wrestling fans? I am fully prepared to concede if I'm discussing this match with someone and they say that they don't like it as much as I do. As mentioned earlier, there is definitely a large number of people who think this match would be nothing without its blade job. I obviously disagree, as I went over earlier. Don't get me wrong, the blade job and what it did to enhance the finale of this match is what makes it as special as it is, but even if this match just continued and had a fairly pedestrian finish, it would still be worth seeing. The roles that these two inhabit to their very core makes it compelling to watch. On the other side of the spectrum, the blade job itself is absolutely something I can see turning people off. The amount of blood in this match can charitably be described as a bit much. When discussing this match years later, JBL mentioned how it might have been a bit much. That he ultimately says, oh, history will be the judge of whether or not it was too much. But Eddie went to hospital after this match, at least according to JBL's accounts. He loses a lot of blood here. Like, a lot. It makes the match for me because I am a weirdo who needs at least one fucked up thing to happen in my wrestling match to feel alive. But Eddie was fucked up after the match. It was a deep cut, dangerously so. And wrestlers getting fucked up in the pursuit of a great match is something I still find hard to land on an opinion of. There's a thrill to when Shibata headbutted Okada so hard that his head exploded, or when Nigel McGuinness gets his head battered into the ring post by Bryan Danielson. It's gross and disgusting, but it can draw you completely into the moment, taking away any background anxiety or worry you had going into the match, as you lose yourself in the story being told. On the other, we are so acutely aware of the toll pro wrestling can have on its workers. Unless you are a child or in denial, you know that wrestling isn't a real fight. You know that the outcomes are predetermined, and you know that it isn't a sport. It's a performance. The goal isn't to win, it's to entertain. But it still takes a toll on bodies. Shibata headbutting Okada is awesome, but he didn't wrestle for years afterwards. Nigel's struggle with concussions are very well documented. The matches are legendary, but people's lives have been worsened by this. There's no logical answer. At the end of the day, if a wrestler wants to do these things, they will, and of course in the moment it works. Look at this video. But if someone were to find the knowledge of what this kind of performance can do to someone to be too much, I would never argue with them. Wrestling takes the cliche of suffering for your art and makes it literal, and how much suffering you will want to see will vary from person to person. All this is a very long-winded way of saying that if this match is a bit too much for you, then I agree, but it makes me feel things. It has almost everything I want out of a wrestling match. A clear babyface heel divide, with a relatively grounded group of motives, with a well-defined 3-act structure and blood and head trauma. I hope this video has made it clear why I love this match, why I, along with a lot of people, see it as a canonical classic, and I really hope it inspires a curiosity, as well as a willingness to not write off a match before watching it, because if I'd have written this match off 4 years ago, I'd be a very different wrestling fan right now. Thank you so much for watching. This video has taken so long to make. I started scripting it 4 years ago, back in 2022, and here I am with it finally out. I'm as happy with it as I think I can be, considering it's been something I've been working on and off for 4 years, and also the fact that I can't use footage. Genuinely not happy about that. To elaborate, I think if I fought it, I'd be fine, but I just don't have it in me to fight to fight the fucking WWE over footage. I'd like to shout out a couple of people who looked over the script and talked about it with me. My friend Cam, whose Instagram is going to be in the description, provided probably the most in-depth notes I've ever gotten on a script I've shown someone. I don't show people my scripts often, but they were really helpful in me deciding where to put sections of this video. This video did have a bit of a different structure before I talked about it with him. Also, Stevan of Matches Worth Watching, check out his channel below. Oh my god, very good stuff. His ECW series has been amazing. Also looked over the script and also helped me out a little bit there. Just massive thank you to both of you for reading my script and giving feedback. It did help a lot in making this video, and I don't think this video would exist if it wasn't for the fact that you two read through it. And yeah, thank you so much. I hope you like and subscribe. I do want this channel to grow, despite the fact I barely upload on it anymore. I have announced this on YouTube Community, but just in case you missed it, I'll be revealing my top 100 GWE ballot, well, a slightly amended one because I've already regretted the ballot I put in. But I will be revealing my top 100 wrestlers when I hit 1,000 subscribers. That seems like a good video to do for that milestone. But other than that, yeah, thank you for watching. Goodbye.